going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Culture to Christ podcast. Welcome, new listeners and current listeners. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a great episode. We're going to go on the fly with Aaron and I. If you guys can, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave your comments and questions. We're going to do a Q&A episode with Aaron and I. Thank you for subscribing also on the Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Aaron, what's going on, dude?
What's up, man? How's it going?
On? I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Now that we're getting the ball rolling, seasons are changing. For me, when the fall comes around, I get so much energy. So I'm pumped. I'm just pumped in life in general. I find a lot of people get seasonal depression. I just get going.
The only thing bad though is that numbers are increasing. COVID numbers are increasing, so now there's the threat of going back to stage 2.
Yeah, it's. I'm not surprised, to be honest. The second I knew numbers were increasing in summertime, and I know people don't take care of themselves, and everyone's been isolated. They're inside. They're not even taking care of themselves. The second it gets cold, it's what do you expect? You know what I mean? So the numbers are going to increase. I think they're going to do another lockdown, 100%, because the leaders in the government are all older people. So they're going to be we're the most susceptible. And obviously, people want to go out and just do things. Putting people in lockdown for 5-6 months, I honestly went through some mental health stuff, some mental health changes. When I was in lockdown, I was man, I got to work on myself because
everyone experienced the mental health problems, yeah.
Because second I was my routine is gone. I'm okay, clearly, when I lose my routine, I have all these issues anger, stress, depression, all this stuff. So I took it, like you and I said, take the opportunity. It's either going to be a lesson or you're going to go down even darker. So, yeah, another lockdown. But I think if you took away some things in the first one, you can adapt, right? We have to be able to adapt no matter what the circumstances are. So praise God that even you and I talked about having God during this time and how different it would be without him.
I just feel more sorry also for the businesses or people who, let's say they finally got a job because now things are picking up, and let's say they get laid off again because things have to close. And that will be that would be devastating for some people, and it's especially during winter time. Imagine because Christmas is going to be coming up, and then that's one holiday where for the most part everyone enjoys, right? People come back, they get to see, or maybe they have to travel to go see their family, and now you can't get into the States. There's more restrictions, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
And Aaron and I pray for you guys that are in that struggle, you have a family to support and things are constantly being pushed, right? That's why, unfortunately, in today's time, you have to learn to adapt and find other ways of making income, right? Even we talk about technology, there's different ways to build a business at home. If you have a laptop, have a Wi-Fi connection, because like you said, yeah, having businesses, brick and mortar and stuff, it's making it very difficult for small businesses. And even in today's time, you see in the States and even in Canada, socialism is building, where it takes away that capitalist mindset, where you don't need to. I think it's important because even for me, the fight is also to not want everything just to be equal for everybody. Everyone likes to think the government will take care of you. Really, it just keeps you in a bind. So I pray for those small businesses because you guys are the ones that are really hustling, right? Really working for your work. We even touched on last episode. We talked about how you grew your business. You guys should listen to that last episode, episode 9. Aaron talked about how he grew his own business on his own, right? That gave him the ability to then do other things and not rely on a lockdown ruining his life, right? How do you feel going over that episode? How do you feel, talking about that testimony?
It was good. I got a lot of feedback from people as well who, they were that's the story I wanted to hear, or that's something that I was interested in learning about, because especially people who followed me in the past, they saw me posting releases and they saw, me posting outfit pics, but they didn't know the work that was actually put into running the business and some of the struggles that I dealt with. So yeah, it's all about learning experiences that can be passed on to others no matter what they're in, right? Because of course everyone likes to have something on the side, and yeah, if you could just take something away from that last episode, and even little things that you might not even consider when you think, oh, maybe I'm gonna get into a clothing brand, or yeah, but no, I thought that a lot of the topics we got into are things that people can relate to, especially from like a lustful standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and like the struggles of being a single guy and just right getting like falling into temptation, getting the success and then abusing it. So
And that's the one thing like you and I have learned is when you're away from God, like not only do you mistreat yourself and like abuse yourself, you abuse others. And like when you're away from God, your heart is so hardened, you don't even realize what you're doing until, like you said, you went through that breaking point where you had to look at your life from like a third party perspective. Like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit, what have I been doing? I remember you mentioning like you didn't even know how you were able to do 80 releases. Like you look back, like I have no idea how I did that, right? And when sometimes you break down, you're able to see from a third party perspective, or God has to take you and show you things. And be like, look what's going on, right? And you can almost see like, look at the world now, like look what's really going on. And we want people to wake up to see what's really happening. We talk about how you only have so much control, where possibly a second lockdown's coming on, and you thought that I can see people, working. I'm working in the mall. I can see how people are like excited to like get back to routine. There's a flow going, right? People are moving around. People are starting to want to interact more. When I first got back to work, it was like everyone was kind of just isolated, wearing the mask, was afraid, didn't want to communicate. And us as human beings, we need connection. Like we feed off that. Like that is part of life. When a baby's born, if it's not touched, it dies for a reason. We need to connect to people. And I'm very grateful because I know even though lockdown comes, we're still going to push out episodes because people are going to want to listen to things to keep them going, right? That's what you and I want to do, inspire others and keep them going. I think it's important. That's why you and I share, our struggles, share the things that people think they can't talk about, shouldn't share, stay away from it. That's taboo. Or even the flip side, where it's like, bro, it's not a problem. Who cares, man? Just do that. You know what I'm saying? That's also the fight too, where I see where it's like people think that just, living a life without God, right? Because we know there's people like that that think life is meaningless, right? And they tend to abuse others.
Especially that you can feel that way too if COVID affected you or like one of your family members losing a job, changing like, there's so many different circumstances that have been affected that I can't relate to, or maybe you can't relate to. Like imagine, let's say your parents had a family business for like 20 or 30 years and then they had to close down during COVID. And now it's like, what do we do now? That's like, to some people, that's the same as dying because you work so hard to build something and it just got swept under the rug for like, right? And yeah, it's a challenging time. And like you said, if you can adapt, it'll be very beneficial. But it's obviously easier said than done.
Well, that's why one of the biggest blessings that came from this is the Bible. Sales went skyrocketed when this happened.
That's crazy.
Because you realize, yeah, it's you just see when you try to have everything, like you said, people are working so hard, 20 to 30 years, to have their business taken away like that. It goes to show like we need more God in our life, because when things are really, really bad, you need God. It doesn't matter your circumstance. If things are really, really amazing, you need God.
Yeah, it doesn't
matter. We talked about that last episode. You had things that you worked so hard for, you really pushed for, like it was in your mind, it was in your heart, right? And when you left God out there, it was still destruction. It didn't matter how much success. So I think that's why even today, we're getting in. There's a lot of group thinking. Like people are just coming together as groups and fighting for one thing, where we're no longer individuals. We don't longer individually think about things, right? Where we want to just join a group to believe in their beliefs and their systems instead of individually working on things ourselves, critically thinking about ideas.
I think they like to hide behind the group too, because like it's easier to join a group's mentality or like what a group is trying to put forth. Like we see it online. Like so many people, they're quick to join certain movements, even though they're not really informed about something or they don't really believe it themselves, because it's an easy thing to do, and they don't want to look like the person who doesn't care.
Exactly.
And like it's all about like why promote something if you don't truly care about it, because you're only lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And we see what I've learned from that is the reason they do that is because they're so busy in their life and their work or whatever, but then they see the travesties on, like the tragedies on TV or on their phone, that they go, what the heck is happening here? Look at that guy get shot. Okay, I'm with that group, because they don't actually have time to do research, spend time. Like when I say Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives matter. Those people who lost their lives, they matter. But the movement, the organization, does not matter. It's a Marxist group.
Yeah.
It's looking to push a communist socialist agenda to everyone just has equal. There's no more working for your life anymore. It just the government just gives you everything. Everything is equal, right? I believe there's a battle between two different kinds of mindsets. There's that growth mindset and that victim mindset. And when you become a victim of your life, it's always pointing fingers at who. Like we said, you join a group and then you point fingers at other groups of what they're doing. And no longer we're taking, like I said, individual thinking, individual responsibility in your life to be like, you know what? The only common denominator in everything in life is me. When things are going bad or I'm responding a certain way, I'm getting angry, I'm getting depressed, the only way I can really change is changing me first. How I respond to situations, how I respond to a certain person. And I myself have had to work on that, because it doesn't matter what was going good or going bad. If I was angry, pissed off, like my day wasn't good, I didn't have peace, didn't have freedom. So I had to really think, like, you know what? I can't change that friend. I can't change even a girlfriend or whatever. I can focus on me.
I think if everyone also took care of their own personal situation first and took care of, their family first, in ways that I'm not just talking about I'm talking about actually in all ways. So just mentally, spiritually, like financially, like if everyone just worried about their own first, imagine how much better the world would be. Because too many times people try to fix other people's problems before their own, because like what we said before, sometimes they're too ashamed, or they're too like they don't have that conviction where they could actually look at their lives and be like, who am I to, try to judge someone else, or try to help someone when look at my own situation. So I think if everyone like just looked at like their own personal lives and the struggles that they're going through, and like, helping out a family member, like a close friend, instead of just whatever we see on social media or whatever we see on the media is trying to put forth that, oh, we got to go run to this movement and support this. And it's like, you can't just jump the gun on everything. I find that if like a lot of the people that you see that are advocates for certain movements, but if you look at their own lives and their own lifestyles that they live, it's just like, it's not even just like a contradiction. Sometimes it's just a joke.
It is honestly
like,
a joke. Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say there, right?
Straight up it is. Straight up it is. It's like they want to say, fix this, do this. But if I looked, that's why Aaron and I, we don't only speak what we're talking about, we live it away from this podcast. Because there's the person that does, there's the question, there's the questionnaire, sorry. There's the answer and the person that's answering the question. Like, you have to live what you're preaching or what you believe in, because then it means nothing. If you're a big talker, that's why politics is, the people are great talkers. It's a necessary evil in this life, but it's not based on good things. It's all manipulation, all tactics, all gaslighting. You need to really preach what you do. And people, instead of taking responsibility, like, I got to work on this, got to work on that, when we don't acknowledge ourselves as sinful beings, as broken human beings, we like to protect ourselves with our pride and ego and just start pointing fingers. Yet, you still treat yourself like shit. Either you speak down to yourself, you just drink a lot, you eat like shit, you're not really a supportive friend, right? Because the world's becoming a bit, narcissistic. And I speak on this because I was like that. I don't speak from a place where it's like, you guys are like this. It's like, no, I'm a broken human being. Like, I'm honest to say that. I have so many flaws. Every single day I realize I need God in my life. I want God in my life, because he gives me that patience and that discernment to be like, hold on, don't react.
And like a lot of times people, they like to solve a world problem or like a global problem to distract them from handling their own problems, Like I remember, so I was at Canada Post the other day doing shipping, and I saw someone in line who I recognized from social media, right? And this person, he's basically a motivational speaker. Like, he teaches business courses on like, how to grow your business and everything. And when he went up there to ship out his items, right, he didn't know how to like correctly fill out the forms and everything, right? So then the lady there was saying, oh, you can just go over there to go to fill it out first and then come back when you're done. And he's just like, no, why can't I just fill it out now? And then she's like, because there's a whole line of people, so if you're not, don't take up other people's time when your stuff's not even filled out properly.
Yep.
And then he just went on, like, kept arguing, wasting time, being like, no, I waited in line, I'm gonna fill it here, wasting time, right? So like I was looking at it like, imagine I paid this guy for a business course or something, and this guy, he maybe his ego's so big or his pride's so big where he can't even like see like the reasoning and the common sense behind what the lady's trying to tell him to do. Like, I'm not saying you're going to lose your spot in line. Just go to the side, fill it out, and then come back. But he just couldn't comprehend that, And it's just like from that little instance, I was like, man, if I was supporting this person or getting motivational advice from him, I would just be like, how this guy can't even like solve a daily issue. It's not even an issue. You're making it into an issue, And it's just little things like that. You see what people really are about, and it can be applied to anything.
And it's
right?
and it's the greatest blessing because you and I are working on ourselves. You're working on yourself every single day. When you do that, when you work on yourself, you realize, I have a hardened heart. Like, I'm cold. I don't love as much as I should. I don't love like I did as a kid. I don't love my parents, my brothers and sisters like I used to. That's bad. Let me work on that. Because if God can forgive me and love me, like I want to love myself, we're able to see the outside world from a different perspective. We're no longer the main character of the world. A lot of people live like they're the main character and the world just revolves around them. That's in that scenario, he was doing that. I'm in line. I got here first. You're going to do this for me. I don't care about anyone else behind me. I'm the center. I'm the center of attention. And a lot of people, they thrive off that narcissistic, egotistical stuff. And we talk about that's a need to fill insecurity. Because when we live, like you and I talk about it, we live this very sinful life. And that builds shame and guilt. Because we don't want to acknowledge it, we then outburst onto people. We don't take acknowledgement for ourselves. Like, you're able to see, like, man, like, why can't you just go off to the side for a few seconds, right? Like, when you become so consumed with yourself, you no longer see people. And that's why we talk about you abuse people or you disrespect people, and you don't even realize it. Because everyone now...
You know what I wanted to do in that situation? I wanted to show him the planet video that I showed you of just how small like the Earth is, right? How small the Earth is compared to all the other planets and like just the galaxy we're in, right? Like you said, we think that we're the center of the universe, because of followers. Did you get to watch the Social Dilemma? Did you watch on Netflix yet? You saw it?
That was a great documentary. I'm glad you said that to me.
What'd you think of that?
I thought of it twofold because I'm very, I question everything I watch. So I liked its premise. And I like the fact that it tells people that, I found it interesting. The guy was telling me he couldn't understand why it was wrong, what they were doing. So talk about first the documentary and I'll get into what I thought about it once you give the premise of it.
So I think I'll just talk about it briefly, not into details. I don't want to ruin it for people, but it's just basically like, it's very relatable to the Denzel clip we posted last episode where, Denzel talks about just everyone, we're addicted to social media and we don't even know it. So the Social Dilemma, what it does is it explores every different facet of social media, from the producers who create apps like Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, anything, that they're putting together algorithms and things that make us actually addicted. Like, that's their goal, and we don't even know it, like, as users, right? So we just think, oh, Instagram is free, all these apps are free, but we don't know that we're the actual we're the product being used. And like, it's a great documentary to watch, whether you use social media a lot or a little, because you learn different things that it's coming from a perspective of, these are the guys, like presidents, these are the guys who create the app,
working at it behind the scenes.
Yeah,
they see the evil. That's you can tell in the interview when I was watching it, they feel ashamed. They could see what they were doing to people, and you and I actually enjoy it because we were on Instagram for so long. We saw ourselves change. The message was, we are the products. The Instagram apps, the Snapchats, the Facebooks, they're giving out an algorithm based on what we're looking at, and they're using that to manipulate us to think and feel a certain way. They find out what we look at, what we like, who we talk to, and they feed us more of that on a 24/7 basis. We become the product. Because advertisements hop on those platforms and they want to sell you something. That's why Your iPhones track everything you say. You'll talk to your friends. If you guys ever talk about a product, talk about a sports team, talk about anything to your friends, if you go on your Instagram after and you scroll, you'll see an ad for exactly what you're talking about, because our phones track everything. And we have to be very careful, because are you becoming what your Instagram is telling you to be, or who God made you to be, or who you actually want to be? Because I myself was on Instagram. I could see myself looking at certain content 24/7, so my mind was constantly on that content.
You're entrapped in like your feed.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how the crazy thing is all those people who, who developed Instagram or who are presidents at Twitter, all of them all said that they would never let their own kids have social media, because they know how destructive it is, how addicting it is. Like, even the one guy, he's like, he developed Pinterest, right? And he's like, I found myself when I was going home, just like addicted to Pinterest when I helped build it. He's like, so I'm working on Pinterest 9 to 5, and then when I get home, I'm still on it for like another 5 hours, because like I'm addicted to my own product. So he's like, he had to start like teaching himself, like, put the phone away in the car. And it's like, this is the guy who co-founded it, So like, imagine just someone who now uses their platform for your business, like me, how I got addicted to it. It's a cycle that they know that it's at the point now where it's almost impossible to break out of it unless you delete your accounts.
It is impossible, bro.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, you had an extreme version of it because your business was on it, so you had the hard hit. So you were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And your accounts got stolen, and so you're just like, I don't even have them in the first place. So yours was like like we said, yours was a traumatic experience, where if you're just a consumer, you don't really lose much, because you're not making content, you're not promoting your business, you're not promoting yourself. You're just on there every day, just scrolling at what other people are doing. You're maybe comparing yourself to other people. Maybe you're feeling like, oh, I wish I would had his life. Or, everyone's just posting their highlights and shit. Like, consumerism is massive, right? In today's time, we're consuming so much content that when you become, like we talk about, comfortable, people are just comfortable looking at the apps, man, 24/7. Like, you and I both said it too. It's like, we were on our apps 24/7 grinding, but people that were not even making a business were on the app the exact same amount of time.
But even from this perspective of grinding on the app for a business, it's still a destructive place to be in.
But yeah, what I'm saying is, like, your extreme, like, it was your breakdown was like a traumatic experience where you're like, wow, I have to really reflect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's harder when you're just kind of going through it every day. Like, it's like, oh, I look at this here and there.
Yeah.
Like, because think about all the different apps now. It's like, oh, I can go on YouTube for this. I'll go on Instagram for hot babes and reels and stuff. I'll go on Twitter, look at what the sports stars are saying. Like, we have all these different things, and I have TV still. So think about, like, it's just like, if you quit one thing, how do you'll quit one app, but there's this next app coming out, right? Where it's like,
and that's the problem, though. That's why in the documentary, it talks about how, because there's so many different platforms now, where it's like, it's ingrained into society. So like, let's say you do lose your Instagram, you have all these you still have Twitter, which is, it's still taking all your data and information about you, and then marketing yourself to you through advertising when you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we always hear about people's information getting compromised. YouTube does the same thing. All of these apps that we think are free and that we use every day, it's like all of our information is being sold to advertisers, right? To be sold back to us. And like, they said that when it's affecting political what do you call it, like political debates and
the voting.
Yeah, the voting, yeah.
Like the ads that, like,
but not just voting, political movements, like starting riots, starting things,
BLM.
right? Yeah, like all of these things. So when it can entice riots and like start problems based on a lot of times false information, that's when you know how destructive it is. Because now it's like, there's so much fake news that goes around, and it's being put out there by Facebook groups or by different people on Instagram, and like, especially a lot of Americans, like, they don't know what's real and what's fake, so they're just gonna, if you see something enough, right, and it's being marketed to you and advertised to you daily, a lot of, especially kids, are going to be impressionable, and they're going to believe it.
Yes.
and start to be like, I'm going to join this movement.
Yes.
And it's a scary thing, right? And like, going back to your first point about, I was just thinking about a meme. Like, you remember that meme for Instagram models where they say, imagine Instagram just deleted today, and boom, you're no longer a model.
You're no.
So it's like
it's true.
Yeah, like that can happen to anybody, right?
Yeah, that's
Because their only
Delete
claim to
Instagram,
fame.
You're no longer an artist. You no longer matter. You no longer have any influence, right? They own you. Like that's why I say like the apps. Like, a few things came to my mind where a lot of people too. They get very sensitive around like social media and stuff, or I don't want to see this on social media. I don't want to see that. I don't like this comment. You don't have to have the app. Right? Delete it. If you don't like using it and you're not willing to like realize that the universe of social media is not real life. Like it's an extreme version, and people who would never talk to you in life feel that they're confident enough to leave a comment. So just delete it in general. Like you always have that option. It blows my mind. People are like, man, this is so bad. Stop pushing this movement. This should be canceled. It's like, bro, if you can't handle all these different kinds, like you said, we have access to too much information, right? So if you're gonna be on social media, don't believe everything you see. Realize they give you what they think you like. So be careful. You have to start critically thinking. Like during COVID, I'll be honest, I never got into politics. I started getting into politics way more than I ever did. But I was able to discern myself to realize, okay, let me listen, but let me listen to the other side as well. Like when you're, especially because I realized your life is, the government makes laws and sets things in. It's good to just know what's going on. But instead of just listening to one guy being like, oh, I like this information, you have to make sure you listen to both sides or get rid of social media in general.
Yeah, it's also not healthy for a lot of people to like be absorbing the amount of information that they take in on their feeds, because like even if you follow like, let's say you follow a bunch of like your close friends and family members, but you have problems with jealousy, right? And like trying to compare your life to others. If you're constantly seeing like those things every day, what do you think that's feeding? That's feeding into the beast that you want to get rid of. Mm-hmm. So it's better that you don't even see that stuff, right? And not just about people like just if all you, let's say your feed is all celebrities, right? Then you start to know more about celebrities than people you actually do know and should be caring about. So it's a lot of toxic information that to be using Instagram on a daily basis, it doesn't build good things, you know? So like if we didn't, like, I'll be honest, if we didn't have this podcast right now, I wouldn't be missing Instagram, because like I was good with, like, after I got used to living without Instagram, I told you it's so much more peaceful. So like when I was watching that documentary, The Social Dilemma, I was just thinking like all of these things that they're talking about these are all the feelings that I felt myself. The scrolling up, the dopamine rush when you refresh the page, when you get a like, a comment, Yep. Like we all know about this, but it's like, it's either we're too oblivious to actually make the change, or we don't care enough, or we're a slave to the system. Yep. Like right now, like in order to grow our podcast and to be of use to our listeners and to connect with them, we need our Instagram pages. Mm-hmm. Like we need YouTube to put this content out.
Yep.
So it's like we know we are enslaved to it, because that's what we're that's the energy we're putting out there. Mm-hmm. But it's like what else do we do? Like
exactly.
What else could we do?
And we have to use a platform in a good way, right? We understand the game. You and I know the game, right? We know that this is no game. This is real life, and everything else is a game. So we do what we can to promote good things. And yes, there's things out there. And I'll be honest, like you said, you have a problem with jealousy. You have an ego problem. You have a pride problem, right? If you don't work on those things, that's why God lets you know what are sins, what are the things I need to work on. Because if you don't, social media will just amplify all those things. So I had that problem, man. I went from 0 followers to 100,000 followers, and I never grew anything like that ever. I always tell people, like, I'm a normal guy. I just hustle. When I figure things out, I'll grow a platform. But I saw myself so addicted, so much time looking at my phone, answering comments. I'm going to grow. I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep growing. Oh, I'm getting business sales. This is sick. Grow, grow, grow. Like, I'm just so obsessed
with the numbers.
With the numbers, I'm looking at different people I want to reach up to, compete with. This celebrity, that fitness guy, this fitness babe. Oh, you're making all these connections to people, like, but you're not really building organic relationships like you and I built. We met in person. It's almost like I'll use you, you use me, we'll grow, etc.
Like everything you just described there, all those things, like that's so unhealthy.
So unhealthy.
Like we weren't created to think this way, or to like what Denzel said, to be 16 million likes, and even on the smaller scale of what those engineers talked about, how they want to basically they want you to always crave coming back to the app, so they'll send you a notification, they'll send you a like. That's why they said, like, turn off all your notifications, like at the end. They give you all of these tips, but it's like, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, these are the creators of an app that we're all addicted to, and if they're so strong about how destructive it is, then why don't we as a society have like the common sense to, I don't know, like to not, I don't know if the correct thing is to not use the app, but maybe create a different platform. But even if you create a different platform, it's gonna be the same shit. It's the same shit,
dude,
right? Like
TikTok. Look at TikTok.
If you want it free, if you want your app free, this is the price you're gonna pay.
Mm-hmm.
You like your own information,
Exactly.
your own mental health.
Exactly.
Right?
You're probably better off to pay for an app that
Yeah.
doesn't take your information and you choose the content, right? Like, there's I think what you're touching on is that's why this podcast is important, because we're going to be the ones sharing this stuff to make people more aware. Because like you and I, we didn't know at the time. Like, we didn't have the tools because we believed in what we were doing so much and weren't investing in our faith. God teaches us things. Like, I was very grateful that I got into my faith as I was growing my platform. So I was like conflicted 24/7. Like, I knew what I was doing was like not good, but I couldn't let go. I was like, nah, like, I'm growing this is for me. And now, like you said, like, I'm honestly seeing how many followers I can lose. Now I'm posting more Christian content. I had a lot of different people of Muslim faith. They just, or no faith. They just, unfollow. So I'm like, I'm trying to lose all my followers.
Yeah.
Straight up. Because like, all I care about is God and Jesus, what he says of me.
I had 0 followers for the last 3 years, so it doesn't matter
Doesn't
anyways,
matter,
right?
man. Like, if you have 100, 200, it doesn't matter to me. Now I'm just like, I want to push out what I believe in. And, that stuff doesn't matter. That's why I'm grateful I went through that experience, because I not only got to see me, but I saw the people around me and everything I was seeing. Like, instead of, I once was a consumer of Instagram, of all these platforms, then I went from being a producer of content and being a business, and then I realized they're both bullshit. Like, they're both unhealthy ways if you go too far. Like, you have to be able to go like, okay, you know what? I'm going to use this for this, but I'm going to get off it.
But so the problem is that because kids are getting Instagram and social media, TikTok, all this at such a young age now, where when we grew up, we didn't have that, right? So
how blessed is that, though?
Oh, amazing.
Dude, like, I look back, I'm like, thank God I had a childhood.
Yeah, you can go out and play.
Dude, I went to my buddy's house, knock on his door to hang out with him.
Yeah, that's how you had to. But those kids now that grow up with it, right? Because now it's like that's how they communicate with their friends, and that's how they think like they're cool amongst their friends, or this is how they this is how like they maybe pick up girls in middle school or high school. But it's like, if that's a part of their childhood now, I think they're fucked. Like, literally, if you ended it today and took that away from them, like, did you see the girl when the mom put her phone into the glass box? Did you see that part?
Oh my goodness!
Or did you miss it? You saw that part, right?
I saw that, and I'm like, that's real.
That's real for sure.
That's
happens.
not even an over exaggeration. So basically, I know we're giving away this documentary, but we want you guys to go watch it. Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah.
But the scene basically is they're trying to have dinner, and everyone's on their phone, and even the parents are, and the mom's like, you know what? Let's put the phones away for an hour into a locked box. Like, she locks it. The daughter kind of like, oh, I have to go get a fork, and tries to open it, and she's like, oh, mom's like, oh, it's locked. We're gonna eat dinner and talk to each other for 1 hour about your day.
And they couldn't even do it.
Nope.
They couldn't talk. It was the most awkward dinner.
Awkward
They were
thing,
just
man.
like, the dad's talking about some shit that no one gives a fuck about. And then so what does the girl end up doing?
She literally, take some kind of some weapon, some axe, what is it, like some base?
It was a
hammer, and just destroys the box.
Gets her phone back.
Doesn't make one facial expression. Just robotic, because her life force is in this cell phone, smartphone. It's not smart, it's dumb. Dumb phone. She call it dumb phones. Takes it and just walks upstairs. Doesn't say sorry, nothing. People are like you said, bro. You grew up. I looked at my cousins. My cousins were living with me. They're younger. They're one of them starting first year university now. When she was living with me in the house, like, literally her life was like this. Here's her phone. Here's like this.
They all are like that too now.
Snapchat, like, this is their personality. Snapchat, this is their best friend. Like, this is their life force. They don't go outside. They don't do anything.
It's so scary, man.
It's the craziest drug. It's the most. It's because it's like you said. It's overstimulation. We are overstimulated with all this technology that's constantly firing in our brains, thinking, giving us dopamine, making us feel good. But then we go to bed really fucking empty. Or we wake up, we have to go to that phone because we wake up very, very, very empty. And that's why, like,
That's why
I'm
there's
so
so much
grateful.
bullying and depression, you know, like kids going to shoot up the schools. This is all, man, because of social media.
Yep.
So the bullying just went to, you know, being bullied at school now. Now you can get bullied at home.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. You'll get it
bullied.
yeah.
You go to your TikTok, bullied. Go to your Instagram, bullied. Snapchat, bullied.
You go
Facebook,
to school.
bullied. Bro, I remember times when I got bullied. I'm like, oh, thank goodness it was a person, so I can face that guy. Like my mom, like I remember when I got bullied, I was like, I don't want to fight. Mom's like, no, take him on next time, and I did that. I punched a guy. I was like, yeah, you never messed with me again. I'm like, perfect. Imagine getting bullied online. You're just like, what can I really do? I just get back and I talk to him and like talk trash. It's all simpy kind of behavior. And even when I remember when I would leave schools in elementary school, like we had MSN. Remember we had MSN or chats, and like I got bullied on there a little bit, but I was like, man, at least it's just MSN. Imagine I had every 1,000 different apps, and like there wasn't technology back in the day, so I had to go on a laptop. We had computers back then to even see those messages. I didn't have a phone around me. Like I think in high school I had a flip phone, and bro, I'm like calling, and I had 100 characters for text. Like I actually had to manage, like, oh, I can't send that text. We were so much better off with everything, like because you build so many more skills with people, with like talking and reading, because body language is 80% communication.
But the youth won't even have time to actually have those relationship skills now, because now that everything is phone first, no one can teach them how to, you know, talk to a stranger, hold a conversation with someone who's older than them. It's like, and that all has to do with like the addiction to the phone, you know? And how can society change if these apps are always going to be there? Because it starts like on Facebook, it starts with TikTok, TikTok might get banned, but even if TikTok goes away, there'll be a new app that does the same thing, and they'll be going there. It's like, this is now how society has to, I guess, progress, by just having kids with their phones. The only way that could stop is if parents just say no phone, or phones are banned in schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I think it'll actually be able to change.
But you know what's a problem there? We have teachers on fucking TikTok, teachers on Instagram, principals on that stuff. You know what I mean? Everyone's using it. Like everyone's kind of hooked. Like it's
of course, but I'm just saying that, like, amongst especially people our age and like older, it's always going to be a part of our lives. But I'm saying if you want to make a change from, like, because we all know like fundamental change starts from the youth, right? That's how you change, like
parenting, man.
All of that. So that's the only way that we could reverse the stigma and the problems that come along with social media, is if we get the kids from a young age to not have phones, right? To ban them in schools, like to have like proper parenting, to just be like, no phones. Unless that changes, it's going to continue like this.
Mm-hmm. And if you
That's
guys,
sad reality.
It is sad, man. If you guys are listening and you're in that age, maybe you're in high school or you're in university, starting off university, have some conversations with your friends and see if you guys can hang out without your phones in. Put your phone in your pocket and just see. Like, do a test, guys. Do an experiment to actually see like how addicted are you, because we talk about addiction a lot on here, and we have to be honest that we are addicted to things. Like when I say I had a sex addiction, like I'm not saying every day, every second I had to have sex, but I knew I couldn't not think about it.
It doesn't need to be a daily thing.
No.
For it to be an addiction.
No.
It doesn't have to be.
So like, that's why, like, do a test. You know, like when you and I go for meals, like I'll let you know, like, hey man, I'm doing this on the phone. I apologize. Like, I want to be present with you, but I'm aware that my phone is there. Like, I have to do some stuff, put it away. Like, you and I can just chill for hours and hours and just talk without needing our phones, because we realize, man, how empty were we when we had our phones? Like, this was, like I said, people are like, this is your best friend, but it doesn't give you anything. It markets to you what you think you need to buy, and then you're broke as shit. Right? Like you said, how many people would not buy shit without Instagram?
It's a fact.
Right.
And even like there's a lot of times where guys and girls, they have to post things that they don't or they have to post at places that they're not even really there, just to make it look to their followers that they're having a good time, right?
Have you seen those pictures where people pretend they're on vacation or pretend they're at somewhere,
like
and they set the whole thing up?
It's crazy,
That
man.
blows my mind.
And like, come on, there's so many people like that. Or they take a picture of a pair of shoes that they don't own just so their followers can think like, oh, this, you just got those, or like he's flexing, right? Like, there's so many people, like I personally know, that do that too, and it's like, and they're still doing that today. I can't believe they're still doing it like 3 years later.
It's the same.
You know?
It's the same.
It's mind blowing.
It's an investment that never brings a return eventually. Like, it just it keeps you like we said, a hamster on the wheel. You're running, working very fast. You go nowhere. Where we, like, you and I, we have a vision of going somewhere.
Let me tell you a quick story. So 1 year at OVO Fest, I had a pass, right? It's like a family and friends pass. And then this other guy who followed me, he DM'd me. He was like, yo, Aaron, could you send me a picture of your pass, right? So I could, because he wanted to post it on his Instagram.
Yeah.
So his followers can think that he had one too, right? And it's like, yo, this guy, for you to even ask that is like, it's crazy, because I would never ask someone that. But now it's almost like it's like he thought it's socially acceptable, or like it was just normal thing. It's like, yeah, yo, Aaron, I'll just ask Aaron to take a picture of his pass, and like he'll send it to me so I can post it.
Like, you wanted to post it as a post on Instagram?
Yeah,
like,
on his story, like, yo, I have a backstage pass too, you know?
Was he with you?
No, he was just, you randomly saw me at the concert.
Oh, he's at the concert.
Yes.
But he didn't have a backstage
No.
pass like you did.
He just wanted me. He just DM'd me. He's like, "Can you send me a picture of the pass?"
And did you know this guy?
Yeah.
Like a good buddy, or like just someone like you kind of know?
No, like, so, you know, sometimes you follow, so that he's from California, and, you know, sometimes you follow people who, you know, you see their pages, you think like, oh, at that time,
Yeah.
like, he was into shoes and
Oh, cool.
clothing, so yeah, I'm gonna follow back. So it was like one of those like Instagram friends, but I
Yeah.
never met him in person before. I never like hung out with them.
Yeah.
But he just DM'd me that, and I was like, that's crazy. So now I look at your page like, yo, everything's a front.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
He's messaging all his Instagram friends. Yo, send that real quick. Yo, send that real fast. Yeah, man, that's sick. I'll send you mine. Send that real fast. Like, it's just yeah, exactly. Like, you're just like, man, you're faking.
Yeah, even I know another guy who he borrows like food pictures from his other buddy who's like actually a food blogger. So he gets to try like the good restaurants and like different types of food, and he would always ask like his boy like, yo, can you send me those pics? And he'd post it on his Instagram, acting like he'd like, yo, this was amazing, or this is like the best burger I've ever had.
You
Like,
never actually tried
yeah,
it.
you never tried it.
Bro.
But you see how like,
First of all, give credit to where you get it from, and don't even like.
but he couldn't give credit to, because then it'll lead to the guy's page who's actually posting those same pictures and who like is in that industry. But that guy was comfortable enough like to try to fake it to get followers, being like, I eat at these expensive restaurants, or I eat at these hidden spots, so follow me now. But you know, think of how many pages are like that. And
thousands of pages, and that's why we like everyone. Like, everyone's compromising themselves just to make it. Like, everyone's like, fuck it, he's doing it, I'm gonna do it. Like, we're just compromising ourselves for like you said, followers. Like, even think, like I said, that word is so weird. Like, following you, people are following you, like looking at your stories, creeping on you, knowing your location. It's like people are doing like anything they possibly can to like make it. And when we talk about like a lot of like, we want to like, I want to like, unfortunately, when we say the word sin, everyone gets like triggered. It's like, what do you mean sin? It's like, it just means that like you're doing things that like doesn't actually make you the best version of yourself. Like, if I was like, didn't believe in Jesus and the Holy Spirit, right? And I just read the Bible as like a self-help book, or like how to become a better person, I would actually become a better person. Just by seeing like how Jesus acted and lived his life, like, stay away from this, your life will be better. Like, your life will actually improve if you just take away the whole like, oh man, I don't believe that. No way this guy died on the cross and came back. Like, no way, bro. It's just a myth. It's just a story. Like, bro, even if it's a story, like if you took the actual principles, the theology from it, you become a better person. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't do these things, like maybe if I didn't eat like shit all the time and just sleep around all the time, or make fake pics and pretend to be someone I'm not, like, dude, you don't like yourself when you live that way. Like, this guy's like, you don't actually have that, like, you feel like you have to hide from people. Like, you can't actually show your face. You're just pretending, and it's like you just go into deeper things that like, oh, I gotta lie to this guy. I gotta manipulate this situation just to.
And you know how I actually found out about that? Because that guy that I was talking to you that uses other guys' pics for food is because one time when I actually like asked him, I said, "Yo, do you want to go to sushi? Because I saw you post like a crazy sushi thing." And he's like, "No, I can't stand sushi." I was like, "Bro, you fucking posted sushi on it." He's like, "Yeah," but he's like, I don't like it, you know. But you just said that's the best sushi restaurant you went to. So it's like, imagine the lies you have to keep up with to, you know,
Lies
for
on
a
lies
friend.
on lies.
Yeah.
The thing about lying is you have to then, once your lie gets caught, you got to make another lie. Bro, you know how heavy that shit is? Like, you got to, like, think about, like, not being, like, for me, when I had lies and I was lying to people that were close to me, bro, like, I have so much weight on me, I couldn't even be present. I was just like, oh, I got to, you know, make sure I have this story in my head. And, like, you're constantly never actually present with people, bro. Like, dude, it just, you can't actually be present. You can't live a life. You can't actually pursue things that's like maybe you're creative in or you're imaginative in, because all you do is use other people's shit and then make up stories.
Yeah, and so many people, they post things not even things that they like themselves, but just for other people to look at them in a certain way, you know, to be like, oh, this guy's, he's doing it, or like this person, you know,
this
like
guy's
he's doing it big, like even though it's like, they don't even live that lifestyle, you know, but because like they want that approval, they want that, like they want to, build a facade that other people can, look at them and want to follow them. It's it's a drug. Like social media, it's literally a drug.
It really shows the for me, I think a lot of, like, when I always say you're coming from a place of lack, like a lot of people think that they don't have enough money, they don't have enough followers, they don't have enough friends, they don't have enough validation from people. We really have to start looking at, like, the insecurity. Like, are you insecure? Like, am I insecure?
But I think social media has made everyone a little bit insecure.
Oh,
like, I'll be the first to admit it. Like,
it makes me lustful. I don't know about you, but the things
and it made me wake up out of my sleep,
Mm-hmm.
to respond to comments, to DMs. Like, that's an insecure. I couldn't even sleep like a normal 8 hours, right? Like, there's so many insecurities that we all get from social media that wouldn't exist.
And did you find when you lost your accounts and, like, back to back, like 7 months you had it and another one you went for 6 months, did you really realize, was it God kind of showing you, like, man, you have, like, you need to work on these things with me, like you have all these insecurities, or you're constantly trying to please everybody? Did you feel like you weren't really ever truly confident like you are now today?
I think I was more confident before.
More
like,
confident,
or
you know
why?
Extremely egotistical? Because
egotistical.
Yeah.
And like more pride.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like my confidence was still there, the same, and it's still the same now,
Mm-hmm.
because I never allowed social media to control whether I'm confident in myself or not.
Mm-hmm.
But like the ego and pride obviously built up from
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's like that's what social media does to you too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think you're the man. So, but losing the Instagram, it made me more humble, and it made me know that the social media is like what Denzel said. It's a tool. It's not gonna run my life. Like, people need to know how to function without social media, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that the best thing people can do is, like what we said last episode, try to go for a week without it, or a month, and see how your life changes.
And how hard was it for you when you lost your last account, like, to really start, like, you're adjusting your lifestyle clearly because now you don't have that app 24/7? How long did it really take you to, like, transition to, like, just being present, figuring out your lifestyle in real, physical space? Like, how long was that transition? Like, was it like, okay, like, I'll make this other account, whatever, but I'm not going to go on it? Like, was it really tough that, because like we talked about identity, we put a lot of our identity on our Instagram platform. Like, how was that transition for you? Was it, like, quick, or, like, you're like, man, I gotta, like,
no,
this
it
is
was
hard?
like, well, because when I lost my first account, it taught me how to prepare for my second account. So when it happened the second time, right, I already lost one before, so I kind of knew, like, what I had to do. But the second time, I just took it more as, like, the beginning of a new relationship with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is His message. So, but the first time, like, it took me, like, because I made an account the same day, like the new account, I still was obviously pissed. Like, it probably took like a month, or maybe 2 months of just feeling like, fuck, this is what it's gonna take to rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then losing my second account there, I'd say, like, after a month, I was like, oh, I actually like it without having Instagram now. because it also it made my walk and my journey with God a lot clearer and a lot more I'd say what's the word for it? I would say that it's less stressful.
So you felt a sense of relief.
Yeah.
You're almost like, thank God.
Yes.
Like a weight off your shoulders.
Because I couldn't actually be like trying to walk a straight line if I was still building a new account or building the fan base again, so like slave to the business.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard to do both, man. Like obviously you could do it, but you have to mute it. You have to mute accounts. You have to unfollow certain people because like you're just gonna go back and do it. If you're trying to make real changes in your life, but like every account you follow on your feed is like bringing you back into that world you're trying to leave.
Exactly.
What do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Right. It's not like something where you can say, if like let's say I wanted to quit cigarettes, right, and someone's like, just don't have the pack with you or something, right? But imagine you had on your feed just nonstop cigarettes all the time, like that you're looking at. What do you think is going to happen, right?
Back into
cigarettes. And that's why it's so much harder with social media because everyone has a phone now. So if you know that certain thing, like certain people you follow or like the certain things you like are bringing destruction to your life, but you can't unfollow those accounts or mute it, you're going to be forever stuck.
And if you ladies and gentlemen that are listening are Christians like Aaron and I know my strongholds. I know I'm a lustful guy. I'm very attracted to women. I had a sex problem before, and recently seeing on Instagram they're pushing out a new thing called Reels. And all I see on the Explore page is a fat ass shaking in my face. And I'm like, fuck. I got to mute that. I block it right away. I'm like, I can't see that. Block, mute. And Instagram, these social media apps don't promote Christ-like things.
But I feel like even when you block it or mute it, that just tells Instagram this guy wants more of it.
Yeah.
Send more
Funnel
of it.
more. This guy can't handle that. He needs to break him down. Take him away. It's true,
Because don't you find that, when you watch The Social Dilemma, you see those three guys that are
they're like,
they're
okay,
putting
tracking
together?
him.
Yeah, send
he needs more ass, more twerking. Send to him now.
But that's real. That's for
real.
sure how it works.
That's the algorithm.
Yes.
It takes away, and like that's what happens, man. Like I once in a while I'm checking out Explore. I'm like, oh, here we go, another one. Here we go, another fitness chick. Oh, another. It's almost like it knows. The devil knows my issues, my lustful issues, and it just gives me more. When I was on TikTok during COVID, like I'm just like, I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm just like, wait a second, like how old are these people, bro? I almost like, yo, like, because nowadays it's like it so exploits the young girls and young shit. I'm like, I can't see this shit.
And you don't even really know how old the girls are now.
No, it's
because
scary,
they're making,
man. It's very scary. And like, if you guys go on TikTok, what I learned from a friend, if you hold on to a post, you can say not interested, and it saved me. And I just like all the Christian stuff because I'm like, as long as that fills me up, if I go on social media accidentally or I'm bored, I should never be bored, but if I am, I'll be filled with stuff that's not fucking me up.
So do you find yourself on social media more than you need to be? Because you have TikTok. Like I don't have TikTok, so I don't know like how it works and everything, and I don't want to know. But like, do you find yourself like on social media too much where you have to catch yourself?
I now, during beginning of this podcast, building meaning and working on a relationship with God, and ever since we started this podcast, I've been more intentional on building my relationship with God so I can help people. So now, no. Now it's pushing out content of our videos, doing different stuff about Christ. So my message is going to be, if God's going to use me, God's going to use my social media, then more people are going to hear about God. That's how I see it.
So when you do that, do you ever feel any like anxiety or do you feel stressed at all by like having to?
Not if it's for God.
Okay.
When I'm pushing out content, it's like, yo, this is for God, and like people maybe will work on themselves. Like when I needed help and I see content, I'm like, if I'm doing a good job, good. Because everything is for God. So I'm like, you know what? If 1,000 people, 10,000 people can see this about maybe a scripture or maybe a clip from our podcast, I know I'm doing a good thing. So I don't feel that like shame or guilt or like, I wasted my time. It's when I'm making content and stuff, posting stuff, and then I can stay on the app, and I'm just like, yo, 20 minutes, like, bro, don't do that again. Like then I start feeling like it's almost like we said, like when God will always convict you. So he's like, man, you looked at that ass way too long. Or like you were starting to lust after that. Like in all honesty, that's my honest truth. Like, I'm attracted to, and I'm like, dang, like it almost like knows exactly what I'm looking at. So when I'm pushing content, I actually am on it way less now, even with this podcast, than I was before, growing my followers. Like now I'm just like, what it is what it is. Make sure that, hey, new episode out. go check it out. I know it'll help you. We talk about our struggles, and then that's it for me. Like I want to spend time with, my brother, my dog, right? Like things that actually matter. Like we focus on so much stuff that doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter. Right? Even like political movements or all this stuff that you can't actually make a change on, it doesn't fucking matter. Like you got to act local. Act local. You can think global because your dream, your foundation is to help a lot of people eventually.
But fix your own
local.
situation first,
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Jordan Peterson.
Don't try to be the
Yeah.
hero. Don't try to take your cape off. Don't try to be a superhero when your own life is fucked.
Yes,
Right?
there's tons of pretenders. So many pretenders that like I'm gonna like you put a black square on your Instagram profile picture, and that's all the work you do for the Black Lives Matter. Not like the next person you see. How do you treat them? How do you treat them with respect? Like everything should be individual responsibility. Like I treat every person with kindness, respect, based on the content of my character, not on the physical traits I see. Because how is it now where it's like we're separating people and, this person's this race, you're this race, and we're building all this tension based on ideas. It's like, man, if we get along, we respect each other, it's all good. That's why I'm so grateful we live in Canada where there's not as much like racial tension and hatred like it is in the United States. Like I got friends of every skin color, eye color, different faith. Like it doesn't matter. It's about first respecting and loving the individual. So all these stuff, it's like, man, everyone has opinions that they believe is truth. Like everyone's like, yo, this is my truth. This is the truth. No, this is real. Like this is being oppressed. It's like there is one truth and there's our opinions. And the one thing to validate our opinions is going to the Word of God. That's truth. There is one truth, Word of God. Everything else is just subjective. Like what you see, I could be seeing different. Like we could see someone, everyone nowadays, right? We just look at clips and we build a whole story around it. We see one cop shooting a guy, whole story blows up around it. We like, well, hold on, what was the 10 minutes before that? What was it 20 minutes before that video?
And they don't want to know that. A lot of people, they don't even want to know.
No, we live off being triggered.
And some people, they want to know. They want to know what's convenient or what's beneficial to help their own situation, It's like they don't want to look at the whole story because then it could reverse like the edge that video gives them, right? It's all about like, it's so much about manipulation.
It's like the World Star hip hop you talked about, right? Isn't World Star a lot about like just crazy ass shit happening?
The World Star is like, it's the most destructive website. Like, and I used to watch it every night before bed because it's always like, man, it has everything. It's not just music videos, but it has like, people like fighting in a Popeyes, like over a chicken sandwich, like,
and like
makes stupid shit.
And it makes you feel bad about your circumstance, right?
No,
like,
I didn't even. I watched it for my own
entertainment.
Entertainment. Yeah, I found the things entertainment. Like it's just like it's a compilation of like the most random videos, but then you just find yourself on it for so long, and like some of the stuff that you see, it's like crazy. Like those show like actual drive-by shooting like in Brazil, like just not even censored, none of that. And I was, and it's traumatizing, right?
Yeah, man.
And I was just like, what the fuck? And you'd have to click out of it, and you go to the next video to be like, oh, let me watch something else. But it's like you just find yourself on it scrolling and watching that every day. Think about it, you used to watch that, go on that website every day before bed. So it's almost like you're going to sleep with all those
trauma
and demons,
those images
right?
in your brain. That's why, like, when you look at the riots, like, it makes sense. Everyone was inside, not doing anything, on their phones, watching traumatic videos. People getting murdered.
Yeah.
Bro, that the George Floyd murder, like, it affected me, bro. When I was watching that, like, all these emotions, all this anger, I was so, like, triggered, right? And if I didn't have a relationship with God, I'd be doing what everyone else is doing. I'd be snapping, right? Because when God realizes to give you patience and not just rely on your emotions as your validation, as your God, you're able to, like, discern yourself. Like, let's, be patient when I see something. Let's get the full story, because social media only gives you clips to keep you addicted, to keep the numbers going up. So, like, man, like, everything is, and it's so traumatic. Like, all these things, like, I always put in perspective, like, if you guys went outside your house and looked around your street and went to work and saw all that shit in real life you saw on Instagram, you'd be in a mental institution. You couldn't stand this world. I think people are, like, almost surprised that this world has so much abuse and destruction. It's almost like they're surprised they don't know that murder, it goes on 24/7.
But now they're desensitized to it because you've seen it so much. Like,
yes.
I'll admit, like, when I see a new like Black Lives Matter movement, I just think though, like, yo, another one, because there's so many of them where it's like it's not like it's hard for me to get triggered now because I've been desensitized to it, and so many people I'm sure and that's a problem. It's not good. Like, that's a problem, right?
But it could be also your whys. So it could be like, like when you're working, like we're on our walk with God, we don't see things now. It's like, it's not about almost desensitized, but not being like triggered. I think it's okay to care, right, and have that love for people. But it's like, I think it'd be tough for me because I'm an emotional, sensitive guy. Like, God helps me. Like, yo, Alex, like, you're too emotional, too sensitive. Like, you get in your head about stuff. Like, I need to make you discerned and calm down. Be patient. Don't just react. Right? I think a lot of times we just react to things now. Like, how can that happen? Or why'd that happen? It's like, be still. Like, just, okay, like, you know that if this video you're watching, like, either you're desensitized or, like, it triggers you, maybe you shouldn't be on that. Like, it's not making you, like, imagine, like, what, like you said, you're watching that stuff all the time. Like, it didn't help you in your work you're doing in the day.
Okay, maybe the word I use, desensitized, not right, but it's just not surprising to me anymore. Like, when I see a new headline, it's like, I'm sure all of us feel that way because we've been seeing it for so much. Like, black people too, they feel that, it's another one, right? It's like, for that to be like a new headline that makes you feel an emotion, right? I don't know what that has to be.
And it's a true statement, because when you get off social media, like you and I have, like, you start to be more present with people. Like, you're more sensitive and emotional with the real stuff in real life. Like, you see your friend struggling, he's an alcoholic or he's dealing with drugs or stuff at home with family. Like, you care more about that. I think that matters more. Like, the people you're actually around, like,
because that's like an immediate impact
that
I can change.
You can actually make that, like, doing that small impact, like passing it forward, like how I treat someone right next to me can impact so much things, because we know there's one leader for the countries making all the decisions. It takes one person to shoot up a school. It takes one person to cause havoc. It can take one person to change things for the better. So if we take, I think people want to feel validated or feel like they're making a change by making all these posts on social media. It's like, wait a second, I have maybe a brother that needs a conversation, right? Maybe there's a homeless guy I can go see downtown Toronto and give him some food. Like, when we start seeing and being around present in the people we're with, then that makes a change. You and I talk about this as a foundation to grow something bigger so we can meet people. Like, we know when people reach out to us about listening to this podcast and send those individual messages, like, we know that means something deep, right? Because we're trying to this is why I think we want to do a podcast, because it's intentional, right? It's so specific. We're not trying to be generic and just be cool and clickbait. We're trying to, we give our opinions, but we're trying to be intentional, where it's like, yo, people actually watch this, and we're not just shooting the shit trying to laugh, right? Like, today we're on the fly going back and forth, but we need to be more intentional. Like, we have impact. So imagination, okay? You got to have an imagination. Think bigger for your life. Aaron and I are creators. We have ideas. I think in today's time, for myself, I struggled with thinking like knowledge was everything. If I know everything, I'm good. And I realized, like, the world needs more, creative, bigger ideas, bigger concepts.
There's so much information overload.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Like, there's so much like, if you just go put on CP24 or CNN and look at the amount of information they want you to take in just one screen. So you have like CP24, right? You have weather, you have the ticker going at the bottom of all the stocks, you have headlines going on, you have what the person is trying to, like, the breaking news, you have traffic, right? You have so much, like, basically that whole screen is just one clusterfuck. Like, when you look at it, it's the amount of anxiety you can feel from just watching that.
My mom puts it on in the morning. I'm like, turn that shit off right away. I'm like, yo, turn that shit off. Like, I just see a bunch of numbers and like lower headlines and this shooting and it's closed down. COVID cases rise. Be scared.
It's crazy, man.
Like, I wanted to ask, how are you doing right now? You have a knee injury. How are you managing that right now at home and stuff like that? Are you feeling like pulled like into TV more. You can't be as active. You're not playing hockey. Like, do you feel like you're fighting that right now?
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
find because there's only so much I can do, so I can just like ice it or like do physio. But because hockey to me was such a big part, right, of like going out, being active, like 5 to 7 times a week. That now because I'm at home more, I can watch more. Like you're watching more TV, you're watching more videos, and it's easy to get pulled back into culture, into like the negative side of it. Like I'm just trying my best to enrich my relationship, right? Like trying to watch more videos about so like right now I'm watching these videos on basically the when Jesus was crucified,
Mm-hmm.
about like the people that were beside him on the cross, so basically one of the guys that was crucified beside him, when they both got on the cross, he was telling Jesus, he was like, if you're the Son of God, like take us off the cross, like like show us that you can
Show me.
show me that
Prove
you're
yourself.
Jesus, right?
Prove yourself. Mm-hmm.
And then they said by the end of it, when he was about to die, like he just told Jesus, he's like, please tell God to remember me because I'm about to die right now. Like I want to get into heaven. So he went from challenging him to being like, prove it to me that you're the Son of God, to just please make sure there's a spot for me, because he was passing away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I just thought that was interesting, because you go back to like all the traumatic videos that we see, whether it's George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, all these things, where if that was Jesus in that situation, right, he would want the cop. Like he let them crucify him, right? Because like he surrendered himself and he let them do that so that like there was a bigger impact, like to die for our sins.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find that like a lot of these the videos and experiences that we see have to come now from, like, we have to analyze it from that perspective.
Yes.
Of like there's a bigger purpose to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a cop right now, that shot me or treated me that same way of like kneeling on my neck, right, and let's say I passed away there, I would want people to look at it the same way as I look at Jesus' crucifixion.
Amen.
Not from like, of course, like, yes, if I was black, I would feel hurt, but I'd feel the same way if it was an Asian guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would still feel like the
That's
same way.
life.
That wouldn't change my
Mm-hmm.
my opinion towards something. But it's like what the guy said on the Orlando Magic. He's like, I'm a Christian first, so I need to learn how to forgive my enemy, to love
Amen.
my brother, right?
Amen.
And it's easier said than done, but it's that having that perspective in mind.
And the Christian perspective is completely opposite of culture. It sees things in a different lens, because when we know that Jesus lived a perfect life and preached the gospel, did miracles, saved others, healed others, walked on water, turned water into wine, he gave us the teachings of Word of God, and then took the killing. Like he knew what he was doing. Like he knew his disciples were going to betray him, right? And I hope even if you're Christian, you're listening to this, amplify that relationship with God. Don't be lukewarm. I think a lot of times there's definitely people listening who don't, believe yet, and they're still, they're fighting it, right? They're fighting it. Nah, I don't believe it, right? I know that. To me, it blows my mind. Like, I know I believe in God. I have the Holy Spirit. I can only imagine if I got to see God in person, and still people didn't believe when he was even there. And like you said, the two guys on the cross were dying beside him. And even then, they probably still question just a little bit. And their life is going away. Like, their life is leaving them, and they're still questioning, right? And I always say, Jesus came to make the dead alive, right? It didn't make it like, oh, things were bad, he made things good. Because everyone's like, oh, Jesus didn't do anything. God didn't do anything. Look at all the destruction. Look at the murder. Look at the poverty. Look at the, like all the betrayal, the cops killing people. People will think God's not here. He made people come dead to alive, because you and I know this is not the end for us. I know what my goal is. You know what your goal is, what we're striving for. I'll get into later testimonies when I felt that personally with someone I cared deeply about. I got to see both sides. I got to physically see the perspective of life and death, and that changed my life forever. So ask yourself, like right now, you could be living in the world, but to be honest, you might be dead. Where Jesus brings life. He came to bring life because You think hell is on earth? You think this life is so hard now? Wait till your time comes. I know it's a dark topic. It makes people like, whoa, bro, too much, but that's the reality.
The topic of, you know, when you're saved by Christ and you know that your time here is temporary, you look forward to the eternity, right? If you don't have that belief or that faith, then it's easy to get swayed by things where you're living for short term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you think this is your be all end all, where you're gonna have to do everything, do anything, you know, to reap everything here, because when you die, you think that it doesn't matter. My soul's gonna die and live here,
And there's nothing.
so there's no point of even, you know, holding yourself to a higher standard. And it's just I think that everybody, how I want to wrap this up is, if everybody took care of their immediate situation, their own personal life first, it would translate to a better world. You know,
Amen.
like your immediate people, that, you know, your family members, your good friends, yourself. If you can just take care of that first, you know, it'd be a different place.
Be a better world, man.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do right now. Thank you guys for listening today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We got a Q&A episode coming up soon. So leave your questions you have, your concerns. We're going to answer them all. So put them on the comments on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening today, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron's going to end up with the verse of the day.
So the verse of the day is John chapter 8, verses 24 and 25. And it goes, I told you that you would die in your sins. If you do not believe that I am the one I claim to be, you will indeed die in your sins. And you will be forgiven if you choose to turn away from your sins. And I will be there with open arms.
Amen.